Mentalism and magics. She featured a levitation effect and spiritualistic phenomena.
Of course, she created controversy. There were mediums at the time who felt that she was sort of prostituting what they did by bringing it to the stage. She had this wonderful piece which she did with her husband where they had a cabinet on stage and she would have bandages tied around either wrist, tied by gentlemen from the audience, really tight, many, many knots. She would then sit in a high-back chair with a post at the back, and those bandages would be taken and tied and secured to a ring at the back of the post. Her neck would then be tied also with a bandage around the post as well. She was then put in a trance by her husband. He would give her a piece of paper and a pair of scissors, put that on her lap, close the curtain just for a moment, we're talking about split seconds, open it again, and now the paper had been neatly cut into little paper dolls. He would give her a guitar, and when the curtain was drawn, you'd hear the guitar playing. And then suddenly, when he'd draw the curtain back, suddenly the guitar would drop on the ground, the music would stop.
Now, of course, there was never any evidence that those were the instruments that the audience was hearing. Could there have been another person backstage strumming on that banjo and blowing on that trumpet, and then someone inside who might have freed themselves, throwing it out the top? Now, we say, wait a minute, don't tell me that she actually made money doing this. Yes, she was a top-paid artist of her day.
We've got a man with us tonight who's going to recreate the atmosphere of those Victorian parlours where people used to sit with their hands on the tables and things would go bump in the night. Glenn Falkenstein.
And I think if you look now to a modern equivalent, you'll see an act called the Falkensteins. This is Glenn Falkenstein and Francis Willard, who have recreated that act. And it's a wonderful thing to see because you have to appreciate the speed at which these things are done.
Make sure there is no way that she can escape so that the camera in the back can see.
The more you can restrain a medium, the more you can convince the audience that the medium is bound and hypnotized and still, then the more effective the act is.
I want you to sleep. Your eyes are getting heavy. They're getting heavy. I want you to sleep.
So the spirit cabinet really depends on a contrast of movement against the silence.
Let's see if we can make some spirit contact. Spirits, are you there? Watch. The top of the cabinet, gentlemen. Gentlemen, walk in that cabinet, please. Just walk right in, very quickly. Walk right in. Make sure that she's still tied, still nailed to the board.
Now, nowadays, we know that maybe it's not the spirits creating these effects. You know, maybe it has something to do with the fact that Francis is in the cabinet. But just watch when he takes a jacket from a gentleman.
Spirits, take the coat. Be quick. You're going to see something you're not going to believe. Gentlemen, would you walk in that cabinet, please? Check the jacket. Go, walk right in. Make sure you can't get that jacket off.
And she is now wearing the jacket, bearing in mind that she is still tied up, and all the ropes go through the jacket, and she's tied in place. Now, she couldn't have escaped and put the jacket on and put it back. She didn't have enough time.
Spirits, take that coat. Be quick. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Francis Willard.
So, how do you explain it? Well, you don't, because it is the indescribable phenomena.
It's one of the most breathtaking moments in magic today, but of course it goes back to Anna Eva Fay almost 125 years ago.
But there was more for magicians to pirate from the spiritualists. Audiences were now used to questioning the spirits at seances.
One of the things that spirit mediums have in common with mentalism, it's communication. It's done with words, even if it's done with messages.
Grandma never comes back and tells you, oh, the will is in the encyclopedia on the second shelf in the library. No, she comes back with messages like, I love you, and I always remember you, and I don't regret passing. Goodbye, and Grandma's gone. But she never comes back with anything interesting or useful.
Early performers such as Anna Eva Faye would also answer questions and do this Q&A act, the question and answer act.
Anna Eva Faye would invite members of the audience to write questions. Questions relating to their lives, about their health, wealth, romance, missing objects, lost persons. There was quite a lot of human interest here. And then, sitting on stage, blindfolded, she would answer these questions. What she was demonstrating, of course, was a double skill. Because, one, how did she know what the questions were in the first place? And then, once she knew the questions, given that so many of them were based personally on the lives of the people in her audience, how could she deduce their answers?
Look directly into my eyes.
Was it perhaps telepathy?
Try to get the name that I am projecting to you now.
A new word for a new generation of mind magicians who'd now discovered television. Even the audience at home might magically receive messages across the airwaves. There was no escape.
Please try to feel that I am speaking to you in your own living room, to each of you individually. I'm going to attempt to project a name. It is the name of one of the 33 presidents of the United States.
Joseph Dunninger was amazingly born in 1892. That was the year in which the word telepathy was first coined.
A nice scientific kind of sounding word. So that immediately becomes, again, something that the conjurers and illusionists work into their act. The mentalist act becomes a telepathy act.
Prepare, please. Ready? Concentrate. Begin. Look directly into my eyes. Try to get the name that I am projecting to you now.
He claimed that he never read minds. He did claim to read thoughts, and of course thoughts can take many forms.
The projection is over.
So when Dunninger projected the name of one of the American presidents to millions of viewers at home, how exactly did he control their thoughts? Was there a clue in his introduction?
By all odds, President Eisenhower should bring Dunninger along to the Big Four conference in Geneva to read Mr. Bulganin's mind. Ladies and gentlemen, Dunninger.
By the 1960s, David Berglas, the macho man of mind magic, found the TV studio far too restricting.
David Berglas is a superhero. He's just the man of mystery.
Would you please lead me to the car to start with?
Berglas's speciality was blindfold driving. TV producers and public alike were completely baffled by his apparent extrasensory perception. His approach was to present his incredibly convincing tricks as a challenge to science rather than mere entertainment. This 1966 documentary about him, made for the BBC's Horizon, offered a scientific investigation into his powers.
And I drove down Piccadilly at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, full speed. In those days, we could go round Piccadilly Circus, down the Haymarket, and finally I had to park the car in an underground car park.
Right, gentlemen, that seems to be it. Would you get out, please, and then make sure that you test the blindfold thoroughly.
This challenge to established ways of thinking played perfectly to a 1960s audience. There was a new open-mindedness about the unexplained and the untapped power of the human mind.
People often ask me, do I have any supernatural or psychic powers? And the answer is yes, I do. Supernatural means better than other people's ability in memorizing, in observation, in suggesting things to someone that they'll then do, but not in the paranormal sense. I'm sure you're quite used to men stripping in front of you.
One of the things that really struck a chord with me personally that David does was his amazing ability to stop his own pulse, and he gets so much entertainment out of it, and it's so impressive.
I will try and indicate to you that I can control my pulses.
David will have his pulse taken by a nurse, or one on either side taking both the pulses, and then they move their arm in time, and there'll be an instrument that's hit on every pulse.